So now I'm hitting up what are genetically modified organisms. What are GMOs? GMOs use the tool of genetic engineering. And genetic engineering is the direct manipulation of an organism's genome. This is using biotechnology. So you're actually directly affecting their genome. You're not breeding over time. You're not mutating it and then selecting an organism for a trait of interest. You're actually manipulating the organism's genome. So some examples of GMOs, these different techniques that you can see, you're directly manipulating the genome. You can modify the current genes in that organism. Any modification to the current genes of an organism using biotechnology tools is a GMO. You can silence unwanted genes. So maybe an organism has a gene that you just do not want expressed. You want to silence that gene. That's a GMO. Maybe you're wanting to express desired genes. Maybe you're wanting to promote a gene and get that expression, upregulate it. And that's definitely a GMO if you are trying to achieve that. So a common example of a GMO I've actually listed over here to the right. These are soybeans right here. And these soybeans actually have DNA spliced from bacteria and viruses into their genome. And basically what that extra bit of DNA does for the soybean is it makes them tolerate Roundup. Because they can tolerate Roundup, that's pretty neat because I can spray Roundup to my crop over here and that Roundup will get rid of unwanted weeds, but the soybeans will be resistant to that Roundup. They'll be just fine. So I'm able to utilize that tool to promote production. A type of GMO that you guys probably most commonly think of are transgenic organisms. A transgenic organism is basically the soybeans that I just described. That is, when a newly acquired gene is from another organism, typically from another species, that's called a transgenic organism. So basically, in our previous example, I'm taking the gene from viruses and bacteria. Let me go back to this slide. I'm taking the gene from viruses and bacteria and putting it into the soybeans. Those soybeans wouldn't have that gene otherwise. That is a transgenic organism. Definitely all type of transgenic organisms are a type of GMO. A more recent example of a transgenic organism are these salmon that grow quite large. So in 2015, the FDA approved the first GM animal. So this isn't an animal, a soybean, it's a plant. But the first GM animal was approved with the salmon. Basically, these salmon grow large in less time. So here's a wild type salmon, beautiful product that's formed, quite yummy. Well, here's a transgenic salmon, and it's transgenic because it has an incorporated growth hormone from another from another species in its genetic makeup, which makes it grow quite large. So it has another gene from another organism. It's a growth hormone to promote that large growth. Basically, more fish is produced to be sold, higher profits. Here's another example of a transgenic organism. Here's a glowing GMO cat. So you might have seen this green fluorescent protein. You might have recalled that from our previous lecture. So here I have GFP. That is green fluorescent protein, and I got that gene from another organism, let's say a jellyfish, and I injected it into this kitten. In fact, I injected it into the eggs of the mother, and then it looks like the animal grew and fluoresces green. There's that mom cat in the background. She's not bothered that her baby kitten is growing green. She's not growing green herself, but the kitten is, because this kitten was given that GFP protein. That's a transgenic organism. Pretty neat that scientists are able to do this. A lot of times this GFP is not useful for us. So like in this kitten, it's just for fun that scientists are doing that. In the lab, I've seen during my research studies, I've seen that GFP protein being used as markers, cellular protein markers, in order to kind of highlight any parts of the cell pathway proteins that I'm studying. So it is a quite useful tool for that reason.